I've been asked before to read things for people on this channel. I've not been terribly interested in doing it before. I've been asked to read copyrighted works or things I didn't necessarily agree with. On a previous video about Islam, a viewer of mine left me a very, very long and insightful comment that was so well put together that I suggested they need to make a video on their channel and simply use the comment as a script. They politely asked me to do it instead. I decided, why not have a nice little dramatic reading on my nice porch? This is freedom versus Islam. The likely fate for Europe and major swaths of it will soon come to resemble Lebanon in the late 1970s and early 1980s, or Yugoslavia in the 1990s, because Islam is simply doing what Islam does. It is what it has always done, ever since its inception. It seeks to dominate and rule because that is what it was designed to do, what it was programmed to do by Muhammad himself. We can see the type of world the followers of Islam like to make for themselves, anywhere on this earth, where they form the majority, and most of it, from the perspective of anyone in the civilized world, is quite literally a dysfunctional, dystopian nightmare. As long as the followers of Islam are allowed to exist within our borders, their demographic will continue to expand. As a collective, they will always form a hostile and seditious fifth column. It will always constantly work to subvert and destroy our freedoms, our democracy, and our rule of law in order to establish the Sharia in its place. They will use every available tactic and every available opportunity to make Islam dominant. After all, it is quite literally a religious duty for them to do this. So why haven't you heard any of this from the mainstream media, or Barack Obama, or Hillary Clinton, or Angela Merkel, or David Cameron, or Theresa May? Because they are lying to you. They are lying to you plain and simple. It seems certain that they will continue to lie, no matter what, until the bitter end. Our entire political discourse about these issues is corrupted by their suicidal denial and willful ignorance. After every major Islamic atrocity, these so-called leaders run to the cameras to propagate the big lie. Islam is a religion of peace, which has been hijacked by a tiny minority of extremists, and that the problem is instead radical Islam, or extremism, or Islamism, or some other twisted perversion of Islam. In reality, there is no discernible difference between Islam and radical Islam, or militant Islam, or extremist Islam, or Islamism. These spurious distinctions and bogus phrases are cowardly, intellectually dishonest, Western-coined euphemisms that do not exist in the Islamic doctrine. They have no basis in Islamic theology. They are not used in the Muslim world. Muhammad called it Islam. The enemy called it Islam. The problem is not radical Islam. The problem is simply Islam. Islam is Islam. The hijackers who destroyed the Twin Towers and killed over 3,000 people on 9/11, as well as the countless violent jihadist groups around the world, including the Islamic State, along with the Ayatollahs of Iran, the rulers of Saudi Arabia, they were and are all acting canonically. Their words and deeds reflect the core, fundamental tenets of Islam, whether they are found in the Quran, the Sunnah of Muhammad, or the Islamic Sharia law that is based upon them. The only problem with Islamic fundamentalists are the fundamentals of Islam. The enemy is not radical Islam or Islamism, but Islam itself, Islam proper, Islam in its most mainstream, widespread orthodox form, Islam as it is currently being practiced, and has always been practiced, as it is correctly understood by right-thinking Muslims the world over, from the earliest campaigns of the warlord Muhammad in the 7th century to the present day. The truth is that there is no such thing as moderate Islam. No one has yet achieved a credible theoretical way to even reform Islam. There are no practical indications of any softening or modernizing of Islam actually taking place. The sad fact is that Islam today is exactly as it has always been for the past 1400 years. It is violent, expansionary, and filled with hate. This is the simple, glaring truth that is now staring the Western world square in the face, but few are willing to contemplate this fact. And since the adherents of the Creed, in its present form, are now waging a war of annihilation against us, and the civilization which we have built, we are left with only one possible conclusion if we wish to retain our national security, retain our rule of law, our culture, to retain our freedom: physical separation. Islam and those who practice it must be completely and permanently removed from every single Western nation. The only alternative is our destruction as a civilization in an endless theocratic dark age. The only thing I would add is Islam means something. It is not a simple moniker like a name. Christianity means adherence to the Christian doctrine. Judaism means adherence to the Jewish doctrine. Islam means surrender. Islam means surrender. I'm not necessarily so sure that a insurgency built out of a civilian populace, a guerrilla warfare made out of terrorism, could necessarily overthrow the West. But the influx of terror, the rapidly accelerating pace of murder, atrocity, and horror is present in Germany, in Belgium, in the UK, in France, where hundreds of civilians, innocent people, at random, in cold blood, are slaughtered constantly. The rhetoric that Islam is a religion of peace, the hashtag not all isms, need to stop. Benjamin Franklin once said that those who desire security over freedom deserve neither. But we are faced in the modern age with the fact that security is necessary for the preservation of freedom. The sad fact is that during the time that Benjamin Franklin was yet alive, Barbary pirates roamed the Atlantic, taking over civilian vessels by the hundreds, looting the ships, capturing the vessels, and pressing the sailors present into service as a slave workforce for the Barbary pirates. We ended up signing a treaty with them called the Treaty of Tripoli, which thankfully provided absolute written proof that the founding fathers formed us as a secular nation that had no religious preference. However, that same exact document decreed that America is not at war with Islam. Today, right now, America and much of Europe has been at war with Islam for the past 16 years, and technically beyond that. And unfortunately, we will continue to be, we must be at war with Islam, or the slaughter of innocents will continue. And no matter how liberal I am, no matter how much I believe in the First Amendment rights to freedom of religion, the fact remains that when your religion makes you an occupying force, that by your doctrine slaughters civilians, I will say that it is my duty as a secularist, my duty as a proponent of freedom, my duty as a respecter of human life, as a humanist, to oppose Islam directly, by name. Thanks for watching.